Hello! Welcome to my September reading wrap-up and my YouTube channel. If you haven't been here before, my name is Farah. I'm excited to show you all the books that I read this last month. The first book that I read in September is The 7-Year Slip. I started off the month so strong with this one. It's one of my favorites from the month for sure. It was a 5-star read. This is an adult romance that kind of has like a little sprinkle of magic in it, because the concept is that there's this magical apartment that sometimes brings two people together who are like from certain amount of years apart. This girl and this guy meet in this apartment, and he is from the past, 7 years in the past, and she's from 7 years in the future. In current time, she is like seeing him again, but it's been 7 years for him in real life. So she's going back into the apartment and like falling in love with this person, and then she's seeing them 7 years later when they haven't spoken in all of those 7 years. It's really beautifully written. I feel like there's just so much in it, even just besides the romance, where I was like, that was so good. This is one of my favorite types of romances, where it's like that very like vulnerable and like meaningful sort of thing, where it's more on the serious end, but they have like little jokes and stuff, banter and like internal monologue that's like very witty, and I just like the girl's character, and you're like in her head for a lot of it, so that's really nice. And then I liked the guy's character too. It was just the right amount of heart-wrenching, and it was definitely just like a deeper romance story, like a more intense romance. Next, I read Hello Stranger. It was just such a cute romance. Like, I would read this one again. It took a little bit to get into. The beginning was a little slow for me. When it really got into like the juice of the story, which was I think maybe like a third of the way in, I really started loving it a lot. It's about a portrait artist. She ends up needing brain surgery because she has something that I actually completely forgot what it is, but it's like this medical condition where you need to get it removed fast because it could be like fatal. But when she gets it removed, she gets face blindness. The surgery is near the part of her brain where you can recognize faces. It really doesn't mix well with being a portrait artist. Like, she's having a lot of like internal struggles with all of that because she didn't know that the surgery was going to cause her to have face blindness. It's like one of those moments where the character goes through something where it kind of makes them have to like reroute everything in their brain, like go through all these changes in order to like become better on the other side. I really loved the love interest in this. I loved them together. I loved it. Thinking about the romance like it makes me happy because it's just so good. I really also do appreciate just like the fiction part of it too, like where it's like not having the romance. I think it helps me kind of learn more about her character. I will say I was like more bored at that part in the beginning, but it did a better job of like mixing it in with the romance throughout the rest of it, just because like I feel like a lot of people look at this book and they're like, that's like a romance. I really want to read The Bodyguard. Like, I just want to read more Catherine Center books now, because I really like her writing. Like, I feel like I just would enjoy more of the stuff that she writes, like how there is in The 7-Year Slip. They're both like funny romances with deep undertones. But a book that is very different from both of those that I read next is Magnolia Parks. I still don't know if I'm going to read the next one, because this book, it was a roller coaster of emotions. I didn't dislike it a lot and I didn't love it, but I did feel like I was like addicted to the story. I just felt like I couldn't stop reading it, and I had to know what happened, and I felt like I was thinking about it a long time after I read it. I almost like partly don't even like to think about books that much, because it's just like, I don't know, like it just like hurts sometimes. You know, if you know, then you know. Like, it's just like sometimes I don't want to like be in pain, you know? And this book is one of those ones where it's like a heart-wrenching story. How crying is described in this book, like when people like break down, and there's like a lot of those moments, it's just like brutal and it's hard to read, and it's like, oh my god, that is like, this is heartbreaking, because it's like two people that love each other but they keep hurting each other over and over again, and I just like, it's hard to read. And, like, people want me to read the next one, and maybe I will, because the first one was very much sucked me into it, but I'm scared. Like, I'm actually scared to read the next one. I don't know if I want to. But the Daisy Hates book, though, I think that's the next one. And I mean, people say that that one's less like how this one's like a toxic relationship. So maybe I will give Daisy Hates a try. And like, I know that that's gonna make me want to know what happens with Magnolia and BJ, but it's like, I don't know if I can do it. I should probably say what this is about a little bit. This is about a group of very rich friends who live in London. They basically just go out and party together a lot, and there's like a lot of, not scandal, but like a lot of drama. They're in the press a lot, so it's like the Gossip Girl vibe. The main girl is Magnolia Parks, and she's like very much in the press a lot of the times, and so is her boyfriend. Well, BJ, who they were a boyfriend and girlfriend, but then he cheated on her like in the beginning. This is like, you start at this point when you're in the story. You start while like they're not together, but they hang out like all the time. There are certain things that like I didn't love. They're kind of not always likable characters at all. Like sometimes they're very snobby and like kind of messed up. It doesn't make me dislike the book for it. It's just like I don't always like the characters because sometimes they act in certain ways where I'm like, I also want to say this is something that no one told me, or I didn't hear it from anyone before I went into it. It is a love triangle. There's a love triangle in this, and it's kind of like the whole time you're reading it, you know who she's gonna end up with. I shipped her with this other person so much. I read The Lost Apothecary. It's about a apothecary shop back in the day, centuries ago. A 12-year-old girl comes into this woman's shop. She ends up becoming like her apprentice in a way. That's like a whole story going on in that timeline. In the present timeline, a woman named Caroline just got cheated on by her husband, and so she's taking their trip to London by herself. She's just really into history and all that stuff, so when she finds like this mysterious looking vial and she has a little drawing on it, she researches it a bunch and ends up finding like the apothecary, like the actual place. It's a mystery in the way that Caroline is like uncovering this apothecary that was the reason that so many like men died or were killed in the past, and then no one knows it, like no one's figured it out, but she's figuring it out, and it's so cool and fun in that way. But at the same time, I was really bored throughout reading it. Like there were certain parts that I really liked, and it wasn't like a pain to get through. It was just like, as I was reading it, a lot of moments I was like, I'm not really into this right now. Listening to it as an audiobook really helped. It's hard because it's one of those books where I think there's like so many people who would like it, and there are, because I think it's a pretty popular book, but I'm just not one of those people. It felt like I was lacking like adventure or something. Like it felt like I was being told like a story from someone, but I wasn't in it, and I like to feel like I'm like in a book when I'm reading it. The next book I read is Night of the Witch. The romance is between a witch hunter and a witch. A lot of women are being burned for witches even if they're not one, but she's like a real one, the main girl in it. I really enjoyed this one for like a lot of parts of it, and then I was also a little bit bored or like unattached to it at some parts. It was decent. I think I'd give it like a 3 point something, like 3.5 or something like that. But it just wasn't one that I personally loved. I think it's good to read if it's like fall time and you just want a book with like a witch and a witch hunter. Next, I read Love Theoretically. This one took me by surprise. I didn't know I was gonna love it as much as I did, but I'm kind of obsessed with it. Whereas The 7-Year Slip and Hello Stranger were more like deep, vulnerable with like a little bit of funny mixed in, but mostly there's like a deep message and everything. This one I feel like is more funny and fluff than those ones. This has like the vulnerable side too, but it's more, feels like it's more about like the tension. The girl and the guy in this, both scientists. Elsie works in academics, but she doesn't get paid a lot. She goes on this app to make more money where she fake dates people, and she has like this one customer. She usually doesn't date people for like more than one date, but she has a customer who's like really respectful and nice, and they're like friends, so she'll go on like continuous dates with him. He has a brother that she always gets weird vibes from because she just feels like his brother doesn't like her for some reason, or he's like suspicious of her. And then she goes to apply for this job so she can start making more money. And what she doesn't realize is that her date's brother, Jack, who they kind of know each other, they've met each other like at family gatherings and stuff. They end up meeting each other and seeing each other in her real life. The job that she's going for, he's like one of the lead science people who I think is like taking part in the decision, or not taking part in it, he's just like overseeing it or something. It's an enemies to lovers. Next I read 365 Days, but I didn't read all of it. I DNF'd it. I think I stopped like somewhere in the 50% mark, or like almost 50%. Massimo, I don't like him. Like I just don't find him attractive, and I feel like if I'm reading a romance, I just have to find like their qualities like somewhat attractive. He's just kind of, from what I've read, and I got like 50% of the way in, he was just kind of horrible, so I was not into it. Yeah, I wouldn't recommend this one, but it all depends on what type of romance you like and what type of love interest you like, because this is just one of those books where it's like not my thing. Like it's just not my preference. Next I read The Hating Game, and I loved it. It was really good. I was like so pleasantly surprised by it because, okay, it's not that I didn't think that I'd like it, it's just that in the beginning of me reading it, I had watched the movie, so I thought it was gonna ruin it, that I already knew like everything that was going on, and for a while it like kind of messed up some parts of it for me. But once I got past that and I just like started really getting into it, I could not put it down. Even though like I knew it was gonna happen, I still couldn't put it down. This is a workplace enemies to lovers. In the reading vlog that I did with this, I was comparing it to like Jim and Dwight, because they just always try to get to each other and play these little games to like make the other one have a reaction of some sort. It's not like one of my favorite romances, but I just think it was like really good. My favorite part of it was definitely like the last third of it. I read Funny Feelings in September. This one was really good. I think that it was less good because I listened to it as an audiobook. It's a more lighthearted, fluffy romance between two comedians. The guy comedian has already like been a famous comedian, and he's like had his whole career happen. He's kind of on the end of it. He has a kid and he's just mentoring this younger comedian. The girl in this is like an up-and-coming comedian, and one of the things that people are telling her that she should do, like people who are trying to like help her go farther in her career, is stage a relationship, which at first the guy in it doesn't really want her to do, because he's like, you don't need to do that, you can get there on your own. But then she's like, you know, I'm gonna do it because I'm gonna go on this tour with these other comedians and it's gonna help the tour do well. So she and him start fake dating. They're like best friends by this point. They've been friends for so long. They both kind of secretly have had feelings for each other, but they haven't told each other. I think that with this book, I want to read it again to just see if I like it that much more, because I just know that it's good, and I really did enjoy a lot of it when I was listening to it as an audiobook. But I was thinking like, I bet this is so much better if I'd be reading it. Last book that I read in September was The House of Hollow. This is a YA, I think it's a horror book. I've just been calling it horror this entire time, so hopefully it is. Slow burn horror with imagery steeped in the senses. That is so accurate. The imagery was very intense, so much so that I did get grossed out, because you can even see on the cover like there's flowers and blood and then like an ants crawling on her, and it's quite disgusting. Pretty cover, but it's also like reading about the certain things in it in detail is like, ugh. Overall, my thoughts: if you like horror, you will probably like this. It's YA, so I don't know, like it depends, like I guess how much of horror you like in a book. I was not too scared by this, but I was just like grossed out. Like that was really the main feeling. It's a mystery, and the mystery was so fun. I really wanted to know what was going on, and I was like kind of surprised by what actually was happening in the end. It's about three sisters who got kidnapped when they were little, and they got kidnapped for like a month, and then they came back and their eyes were different and their teeth were different. Now they go through life and they're just like out of this world beautiful. Like everyone's just kind of like attracted to them. They know that like there's something different about them. They could basically like seduce people into doing anything they want to. This scary man starts chasing them around, and they're like, who is this man? And then their sister goes missing, their oldest sister, and so they're trying to find her and figure out what's going on, who this man is. They're also trying to figure out like what happened to them when they were younger, and they're like, everything is coming to the surface and they're having to rehash everything and get to the bottom of it. Even though I don't like horror, I enjoyed a lot of this, especially like halfway mark. It started getting really good. The beginning, I was bored, it was giving all the background, and I just felt like it was kind of like lacking for me. But then after the first half, I loved it and I couldn't put it down. So even though actually like I did take away some points in my head because it was just gross, because I don't like horror like that. Now really quickly, I want to talk about some books that I'm excited to read in October. Okay, first up, the one that I'm reading like right now, I'm starting it today, is The Serpent and the Wings of Night. I have been in the mood for like a really good romance fantasy book for so long, like an adult one where it's like very intense, high stakes fantasy. I've just been in the mood for so long, and I think that's what this is. Do I know exactly what it's about? No, but with me, I see like a little snippet of a book, like a little quote or just a little bit what it's about. I see someone that I am friends with on social media raving about it, and I'm like, you know, I think I need that actually. Here's what like this little part of it says. Human or vampire, the rules of survival are the same. Never trust, never yield, and always, always guard your heart. I love a good vampire romance.
The adopted human daughter of the Nightborn vampire king, Aurea, carved her place in a world designed to kill her. So she's a human adopted by a vampire king. To survive, Aurea was forced to make an alliance with a mysterious rival. A blossoming attraction could be her downfall in a kingdom where nothing is more deadly than love.
I am so excited. This sounds so good. Also, it sounds like it's a little bit of enemies or like mistrust to lovers, which is a great trope. I'm like really very excited to read that one. And another one I'm really excited to read is by the same author because it's like the same sort of vibe. I'm just wanted to get more books with that vibe in it. Daughter of No Worlds. I love like the red coloring on this one. It's so pretty.
Life and slavery taught Tasana how to survive with nothing but a sharp eye, a quick mind, and a touch of magic. But the night she tried to buy her freedom, she nearly paid with her life. Instead, she murdered the most powerful man in Thrall. To earn her place, Tasana is forced into an apprenticeship with Maxentarius Farleon, a handsome and reclusive fire wielder who despises the order. His bloody past may be the key to her future, or their downfall.
Another book that I want to read in October is The Housemaid. This is like a mystery. I think it might be like a thriller.
Welcome to the family, Nina Winchester says as I shake her elegant manicured hand. Working here is my last chance to start fresh. I can pretend to be whoever I like, but I'll soon learn that the Winchester secrets are far more dangerous than my own. It's hard not to imagine what it would be like to live Nina's life. The walk-in closet, the fancy car, the perfect husband. I tried on one of Nina's pristine white dresses once just to see what it's like, but she soon finds out, and by the time I realize my attic bedroom door only locks me outside, it's far too late. The Winchesters don't know who I really am. They don't know what I'm capable of.
I don't even know like who I'm most afraid of. I hope she gets out of the attic. I'm really excited to read the Mindfuck series. This is one of those books that I've been wanting to get for a long time, and then I finally got it. This is like all 5 books in the series. I already read this in another one, but I'll read it again.
Monsters can come in many forms. They took too much, left too little. I had nothing to lose until him. I didn't expect him. I didn't want to fall in love, but I can't let him go. Logan Bennett makes the world a safer place. He's brilliant. He's a hero. He locks away the sick and depraved. But while he's saving lives, I'm taking them, collecting the debts that are owed to me. 10 years ago, they took from me. They left me for dead. They should have made sure I stayed dead. Now I'm taking from them, one name at a time. I've trained for too long. I've been patient. I can't stop now. Revenge is best served cold. They never see me coming until I paint their walls red. Okay, does that not sound like a Taylor Swift lyric? He just knows people are dying. He doesn't know he's in love with their killer. No one suspects the dead girl, and Logan doesn't suspect the girl in his bed.
Those are all the books that I read in September and the ones I'm excited to read this coming month in October. Like this video and subscribe to my channel if you want to keep watching my videos. And I'll also link my other social medias where I talk about books in the description. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one.